Hello.
Good morning.
Morning,
Good.
Jake.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Grab my headphones to prevent any echo.
Sounds good.
I'm a big head.
Hey, my advisor's here now. Sweet.
We are
I
getting
think
very close. We're getting
we have
close.
quorum. I think we have quorum, and it's 10 o'clock.
Yeah, let's give it another 30 seconds and then we can start.
Hello.
Permission to speak, moderator.
All right. I suppose we are ready to go then. So,
Okay. I think we can officially start, and if anybody joins in, they won't have missed too much. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us for this first ever virtual orientation. I think I'll just begin by thanking everybody for being so flexible in what was a very uncertain startup for MGTA. You've all been terrific. You've been understanding, and you've really jumped to and gotten us where we are now. For those of you students, game design students who are first time with MGTA, just a few words on who we are. Just gonna grab one of these. I don't know if can you guys see these? So you may have seen these laying around all over the labs, and basically this is our flyer. We are part of the game design program. We're part of the VSGI. And each year we generally gather over 100 people for an on-site orientation. We have alumni returning to present to you. And it's an entirely different situation. We also have over, close to 1,000 students every summer. But this year we're actually excited to be trying something new. We're doing something we were going to do anyway, which is to inaugurate a virtual orientation. So sometimes crisis breeds innovation, and so we're very excited that you're here. We're very excited to be doing this, and we think we'll be doing this in the future as well. We'll be offering virtual classes and on-site classes. Just a note on our partners. We are doing this with the Envision program. They're a national program, and generally they are the ones that recruit, close to 1,000 students to come from all over the country to join us at George Mason University. This year they're helping us recruit virtual students nationally. We may also have some different partners come join us this summer. Notably K-12. I don't know if you've ever heard of them, but it doesn't matter. The point is we'll either have a good number of students or we'll have a tremendous number of students. As with all experiments, that's what we're in for this summer. It's an experiment. Okay, sorry, I was reading James's note. Yeah, if your microphones are on, go ahead and turn them off. So in any case, I do want to welcome you. We have a pretty full agenda. We're going to begin with Jeremy, who's going to explain to you this year's internship process. It's a little bit different from previous years, only that when you enter your work log, you'll be putting in a lot of time for course prep. You'll be learning a new platform, you'll be learning new software, and you'll be learning new curriculum. So even though many of you are only teaching for 2 weeks, you'll have plenty of hours. You know, one thing I might say, all of those funny comments that are popping up, wait till I'm done talking. I don't walk and chew gum too well at the same time. I'm too busy laughing at the comments. In any case, so Jeremy will outline the internship process, and then we'll move to Michael, who will talk about the platform and get everybody comfortable with the platform. And then we have Jacob, a research professor at the VSGI, who will talk about the platform and Discord and how to manage a classroom. As for timing, I didn't include that in the agenda, which has been shared with you, only because we're not quite sure how much time everything will take. We're prepared to give you as much time as everybody needs to get fully ready. But again, it might take a shorter amount of time. We can also take breaks as needed. We'll keep it flexible. And so we're going to just play it topic by topic. And Michael, I'll let you, we can consult if we see too many people yawning, we can take a break in between sessions. So without further ado, good morning, Jeremy, and I will let you lead the internship discussion.
Hello, hello. All right. So, yeah, well, going off of the time thing, I'll go ahead and try to make this quick. The real expert guide for what you need to do is on the game design website. I'm going to go ahead and put a link in the chat. But the game internship guide is on the students page of the game website in the internship resources box. What you'll also find there is the internship order of operations, which is just a one-page sheet that's a summary of what you need to do when to get credit for Game 491. What you'll notice is the first step, which is find an appropriate internship and secure it, you've already done. Congratulations. The next step is you're going to want to get the internship contract and the consent and release agreement filled out. Many of you have already done that, but if you have not done that yet, you want to do that right away because those two documents need to be turned in to me before I can give you an override for Game 491, the course, which is not a course with meeting times or anything like that. It's just something that you're going to put on your schedule. It's going to live in whatever semester that you're doing the internship for. For this instance, it will be summer or fall in some cases, but I'll get to that later. That's the course where your grade is going to go. It's going to be necessary for you to be in that course in order to get the credit ultimately. Once you're in the course and you've got those two forms to turn into me, then what you're doing is you're just keeping a work log of your hours. And Vera talked about how you're going to be logging not just time in the classroom, but also time training and doing prep work and things like that. You're going to want to make sure that you log at least 135 hours in order to get all the credits that you need for Game 491. You're also going to do a final paper at the end, a kind of final reflection. You're going to do a student evaluation of the experience, and specifically of your employer and your supervisor, and if you'd recommend such an experience to other students, et cetera, et cetera. And similarly, your employer is going to do a evaluation of your performance. You're going to collect all of those things, the work log, the employer eval, the student eval, the final paper, at the end of your internship, at the end of the semester, which technically means the end of classes in the summer. I actually don't know what date that is off the top of my head, but whatever the last day of class is for the summer, you're going to collect all those, send them to me. I'm going to hand them over to whatever the instructor of record is for Game 491 for this semester. Thank you, August 23rd or so. That seems really late, actually. I don't think that's correct. Although, you know what, they did move summer back, didn't they, because of all of this nonsense. I'm going to look at the academic calendar myself. Yeah, August 22nd is degree conferral. That's not the last day of classes. The last day of classes will be August 19th, is the last day that you can get that stuff to us. So let me put that in there, just so everyone knows. August 19th. Yep. Okay, so once all that stuff is turned in, I hand it over to the instructor on record, and that person actually assigns you the grade based on your final paper. If you actually got the hours that you needed, your employer review of you, etc. And that's basically it. Yeah, and like Sang is saying, or excuse me, Professor Nam is saying, he is the instructor of record for this for summer. So I'll be handing all this stuff over to him, and he'll also be giving you guys some information in Blackboard, which is great. So yeah, so first thing you need to do is you need to ask yourself if you've already turned in your internship order of operations and your game internship, or your excuse me, you already turned in your consent and release agreement and your internship contract to me. If you have not, you want to go through with that. Get that to me ASAP. If you can get it to me by Tuesday, June 9th, you're going to avoid any late fees from the registrar. If you end up giving it to me later than that, there's actually a second section of Game 491 we've opened up to help with late ads too. Yeah, by the end of this week is great. By the end of today is great too. Unfortunately, we're not in person. Otherwise, we could just like do a whole bunch right now, but oh well. And the last thing I wanted to go over is a lot of students, it's important to maybe your scholarships or your student status, if you're like an international student or something, to be signed up for this course in the fall, even if you're doing the internship in the summer. For students who are in that kind of situation, what you need to do is you need to talk to your supervisor, in this case Vera, and ask for some kind of something, just a little something that happens in the fall, so that technically your internship is ending in the fall and we can justify putting Game 491 on your fall semester. And that can be like an hour of work. It could just be a meeting where you debrief about the experience. It could be whatever you and your supervisor arrange. As long as you have something that can be logged in the work log as happening in the fall, boom, we can add it to your fall semester. In which case you would sign up for Game 491 in the fall instead of right now, essentially. So that is the big gist of it. Does anyone have any questions? And am I able to answer hands that pop up? Ah,
Hi, Jeremy.
yes.
You should be able to do that now.
Hooray! Okay, yes, Joseph.
Yeah, so for the work logs, do you have like a specific format or template, and do we have to get those signed off like as confirmation, or like what's kind of the official documentation on that?
Very good questions. There is no official documentation for the work logs because a lot of places keep their own timesheets and stuff like that, and it's just as simple enough to just print those out and get them signed by your supervisor. They do need to be signed. If your opportunity does not have an official, like you didn't clock in, clock out, et cetera, you're going to want to work with your supervisor to find some format that you both agree on. This is an accurate representation of how much I worked, and have that signed off by your supervisor. I don't know how, Vera's probably given this some thought, but if, some supervisors, when you're working at a distance, will do like, they'll assign you a certain number of hours for each project that you turn in, or each milepost you get past in a project, or they might have you self check in and check out and just keep a log of when you are working, or a combination of whatever. As long as you have something that at the end you and your supervisor have agreed, yeah, this is about 135 hours, and you've recorded how you got there and it got signed off.
Great.
Yeah. And Vera might be there to clarify.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if anybody has any questions when the time comes, I do have some sample work logs, but generally you'll be logging a good number of time prepping for classes. Just today's hours, you can include those in your work log as well. You're here for orientation, and paper writing and teaching, and each year. I mean, you're all going to be doing at minimum 2 weeks of teaching. So that right there is your 40 hours, and very easily you'll double and add 50% of that in terms of class prep, because we do expect you to go fully through the curriculum that you'll be teaching. Sorry about that. And so you'll be ready to answer questions. You're not going to show up day one and take the class along with the kids, right? So if you're each doing 40 hours, well, you're probably going to be going through at least 60% of that in terms of the curriculum that we've sent out to you. So I hope that helps. And then if you have any questions, just email me directly, and I'll help you through the process.
Cool. Any other questions about the 491 process specifically? Oh, wait, hold on. We've got something in the chat. I'm not doing this for course credit yet. Is it necessary to follow through the documentation? I'm not sure what you mean by you're not doing it for course credit yet, as in like you're going to find another opportunity. You plan to find another internship opportunity at a later date for 491, and you're just doing this for this. If that's the case, then yeah, you don't have to do any documentation. But I would encourage you, you currently possess something that will work, and you might as well do the documentation and get that credit. And then continue to find something later on, so that you've got that under your belt and you've got that secure. Okay, and then Richard.
So with work log, is that like a weekly log that you need to do to keep all the hours you worked in there?
Yeah, I think at least weekly. Some people go as far as daily, but at least weekly log of how many hours you worked that week, and signed off by your supervisor. That's really all it has to be, is be like, this week I worked this many hours, this week I worked this many hours, in whatever format works best for you and your supervisor. Andrew.
Yes. I was.
Andrew, I think we lost your audio. Uh-oh. Any other questions while Andrew is troubleshooting? Oh no! Well, you can type out your question. Okay, question about the final paper. What about it? Okay, yeah. So the details on the format of the paper are in the game internship guide. And if you have extra questions beyond that, that's going to be up to the particular tastes of the instructor of record. So for this summer, it's going to be Professor Nam, and he can let you know if there's anything in particular beyond what's in the document. But it should just be what's in the document. But if you have questions about it, you can ask Professor Nam. Cool. Any other questions? Okay, great. Well, if you guys end up with questions later on, you can always email me. I'm still working this summer at a distance, so I'll be checking my email and everything. And otherwise, have a great time. Good luck.
All right. Now, if with Jeremy finished, I suppose it's time for you to proceed over into Blackboard Basics. So let me get my screen shared here. Okay. All right, can you all hear me correctly? Cool, fantastic. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is discuss a few Blackboard basics here. Actually, before I get into that, one of the things you all probably want to record is my contact information. I know that you all have my email address, since a lot of you have contacted me beforehand to get me software information, hardware information, things of that sort. I'm also available by phone as well throughout the summer. Now that's my personal cell phone number, so please don't call me at 3 a.m., but barring that circumstance, feel free to let me know if you have any tech issues that pop up during classes, or feel free to email me as you prefer. Now, the other thing I'll say is that this whole session is being recorded, so just in case you need to go back and review something later, I'm going to be sending that out at some point later today, so feel free to let me know if you have any questions, or feel free to review this recording if you'd like. I'll certainly be around. But in any case, now starting off with Blackboard here, y'all should have access to your Blackboard course, with the exception of a few TAs, but your access will be granted soon. You'll see it over as a section where you are listed as the instructor, as opposed to where you're listed as student. And let me check to see if there were any questions. Okay. Now, as a quick house cleaning thing, I know that a lot of students aren't aware of a way to clean this up or organize it. So if you happen to have a ton of courses here and it's hard to find yours where you're listed as an instructor specifically, you can go over to the course list here, click on this gear icon, and then only check off sections that you're teaching in, and then uncheck everything else except for specific classes that you need. Then when you click Submit, it'll save those changes, and the only thing that'll show up here in the course list are specific classes where you've left them checked off so you can see them. Now, going into this practice course here, which is one where I'm listed as an instructor, there are a few different things you're going to notice that are different from a regular course. First and foremost, you have this course management panel, which only you as the instructor and TAs see. None of the students are going to see that, and that's where you're going to be able to use a lot of tools to do a bit of customization. You'll also notice up here in the corner, you have an edit mode. If you have the edit mode on, you can make changes to the course, including all of the menus, any content that you want to add. If you turn it off, then you get a view of basically what the students are seeing, with the exception of that course management panel, which, again, only you and the TAs see. None of the students see that. The other thing you'll notice here, and this will be useful at the end here, is the Make Available button. Right now, all of your courses are listed as not currently available. On the student side, this is what they would see here. They would see that they're enrolled in the course, but they can't currently click on it. When you make the course available, what that does, it allows the student to access the course and see all of the content, anything that you've posted there. So just keep that in mind. When you're done making all of your edits, make sure to make it available. That way the students can see it. Now, to start off with, you're probably going to want to add in some customization, like a syllabus or things of that nature. So to do that, we have this menu here on the side. Now, this has a number of default content links in it. So for example, we have syllabus, course content, assignments. One of the things you'll notice here is there are these small icons next to it, which indicate that in this case, there's nothing currently posted in them. For assessments here specifically, you'll also notice that there's the second icon that says that it's hidden from students. Now, like the entire course itself, you can make individual things available or not available to students by clicking on this drop-down arrow and clicking on Show Link or clicking on Hide Link. So if there's any default content that you don't want here, you can either hide the link, or since we're not going to be using assessments for most of these courses, you could just click on Delete. And that'll delete the menu from the area. Now, if you wanted to add your own menus as well, one of the things you can do is press Add, and then you have a number of things you can do here. So if I wanted to, say, create a section for files, something I wanted to share out, I can add in a content area. Then I can say something along the lines of reference files. Then I can click Make It Available, click Submit, and now it's here at the bottom. I can then reorder it to wherever I want. That way it's easily accessible to students or in any particular order that I would like. Now, another thing that you can do here, for customization is, let's say that I wanted to do something along the lines of add in an actual file on one of these pages. You'll notice that there's no content currently listed on syllabus, for example. Well, as it so happens, I'm going to be taking an existing course. This right here is one that I just downloaded from GitHub. But if I wanted to upload all of these files to it, for example, let's say that this here was the syllabus that I was planning to upload. What I can do is I can build content, create a file, and now here are a number of options we get. So for name, that's the name that it's going to display in the actual folder itself. So I can say, for example, syllabus. Then I can just select that file. And now here are a number of standard options that you get at the bottom. If you permit them to view it now, then that makes it available immediately. You can track the number of views, and what this allows you to do is basically you can run a report to see which students have seen it and which students haven't. And if you wanted to schedule it for distribution in the future, like let's say that I wanted to make it available in a week, that way I have it uploaded, but I don't want students to be able to get to it until they're ready for that part of the course. Then I can select to display it after a certain date and use the calendar and the clock icon to select a specific date and time. Then when I'm ready, I can click Submit. And what it'll do here is it'll upload it and make it available. Then if I turn the edit mode off, this is what the students would see. They would see a link to the syllabus, which they can then click on, and then download the file. Now, one of the other things you can do here is that Blackboard does have a built-in syllabus option. Now, this is something that you can add in if you would like, but it is fairly limited, so I recommend sticking with the general file. The reason that it's limited is that it only allows you to use 3 different sections. So, for example, if I were to add in several sections like that, we still have the standard options here at the bottom, so I'll make that available immediately, and I won't track the number of views. This is what that looks like. So it does leave that formatted inline inside the folder, but again, it is limited to only 3 sections, so what I recommend using that for is something along the lines of syllabus or course highlights, while you leave your main syllabus in a separate file that can be downloaded instead. Now, for adding videos, links, and multimedia, that's a fairly standard process. If I wanted to create one inline, then I can create an item. And now what I have is, just about every student will be familiar with this, the same standard editor that you have for adding in anything in Blackboard, as, for example, in a discussion board or something similar. So if I wanted to, say, take this screenshot here at the bottom, what I can then do is say, screenshot and caption. Then I can add in a picture. And then say this is a screenshot. Now, one of the things you'll notice is that I have the standard options here at the bottom. You're going to find this is something that you as an instructor have access to across almost all of the different content types. So just keep that in mind. If you did want to restrict something to a particular date and time, you should be able to do that with just about anything you would like. And let's say that I wanted to attach that file as well. All right. Now if I press submit on that, that shows up here. We have this is a screenshot, and we see that the attached file is there as well in case the student would like to download it. And if I turn edit mode off, that's pretty much what the students would see. All right. Now, one of the things that's going to be covered later with Blackboard Collaborate is the fact that you have the ability to record classes and sessions, which this class is actually being recorded as well. That way you all will be able to review it later. And one of the things that you can do, if you would like, is take any content that you have that's recorded, upload it to YouTube, and then share it out here in Blackboard as well. And there's a nice inline way of doing that. So for example, I have here in reference files, let's say that I wanted to share this YouTube video. What I can do is I can select Build Content, Share a YouTube Video. Now, unfortunately, there is no way to paste in a specific YouTube link. You have to search for the video. So, if I were to copy the name, I can then paste that in and run a search. And there it is. So I can select that YouTube video. I can write in a description, like let's say, watch this if you'd like to learn more. And one of the things you can do is select show the YouTube URL, which I would recommend doing. That way people can then view it in full screen or go to the actual YouTube page itself. Then we have our standard options at the bottom. And if I press submit, we now have an inline YouTube video, which can be watched here directly in Blackboard, or people can select the YouTube URL to watch it on YouTube itself. Now, for some other customizability here, you can add in folders. So for example, here within reference files, let's say that I wanted to add a folder with links in it. I can then add in a content folder. Then I can say something along the lines of links to useful stuff. Here's where you can find additional information. And that's just a description that people will see at the bottom. We again still have our standard options. And now that creates a folder. And inside that folder, I can do basically what I have done everywhere else. So I can add in items, files, YouTube videos, or in this case, something I haven't shown yet is web links, which might be another useful thing here. So a link to the IBM website. If I wanted to add that in, then I can drop that link in here. We again have our standard options at the bottom. And if I press submit, and that's our link. All right, now that's how to basically add content and do things of that nature. But there is other customizability that you all might want to take advantage of as well. For example, let's say that I wanted to add a banner up at the top. That way we could easily identify the course. Now the way that you can do that is you can create a banner, and it has to be a specific size for Blackboard to do this. It has to be 480 by 80 pixels. Or I should say that this is the recommended size that Blackboard Inc. says you should use. Theoretically speaking, it should be able to scale others down, but for best results, I recommend sticking to that. What you can do is go over to Course Tools. Oh, there it is. Customization. And then Teaching Style. And that's over here in Course Management. And this gives you a few different options as well. Now, if you wanted a banner at the top, then there's a Select Banner option here. So I can browse down to the desktop, and I conveniently have a banner for this course already ready. The course style has now been updated. So if I go to any of these other pages, we now see that nice banner at the top. Now, there's something else that you probably noticed on that page, which is that if you're in the teaching style page, and again, that's course management, customization, teaching style, you can also select the entry point for new students. So that is to say, when they click on the link over in courses, which particular page here in Blackboard they go to. By default, this is set to home page, but if you wanted to set it to anything else, like reference files or any of the other pages that you make, then you can select that, press submit. And now if a student goes to the courses page and were to select practice course, by default, they're going to go over here to reference files. Now, the only other thing that I will suggest for now is that if you wanted to add in any specific tools, one of the things you could do in addition to creating folders is add in tool links. So, for example, if I wanted to create a link to Blackboard Collaborate Ultra, which a lot of you are probably going to be using, it's what we're using for this tutorial now, what you can do is say, add a tool link, select what particular tool you're using, and in this case, Blackboard Collaborate Ultra. Be sure to select available to users, that way it's available, and then click submit. And now, like everything else, that is here off in the side of the menu and easily accessible to students. Oh yes, and before I forget, the one last thing I will say, and I promise this will be the last one for now, is that a lot of you are probably also going to want to include contact information as well. So, let's see, I can create a contact page. And now for contacts, what you can do is that you can add in your information. And again, for those of you that didn't have this before, be sure to record my email and phone number, just so you have it. Then I can add in additional office hours and notes. For example, 5 p.m. Then I can also attach an image, for example. That way students know what I look like. And then if I submit that, then there's a contact link created. Now you'll notice that this item is hidden from students, so if I turn the edit mode off, you'll see that it disappears. But I can quickly make that available. To students, resubmit that, and now students would be able to see that just fine. All right, so that's basically all of the introductory content that I have for how you would add content, add tools, and do things of that nature. But are there any particular questions that people had, or are there, I'm not sure if any of you particularly saw the optional sections that I have as well, but are there any other features of Blackboard that you would like me to cover as well? Yes, Richard.
So, if we were to go and do grades, how would we go and submit them? Or is that are the TAs going to be putting in the grades?
You as the instructor have the ability to do that. Your TAs will as well. And I can actually demonstrate how to use the grading center as well. Let me see if I can share my screen here. Okay. Now the grading center works in coordination with assignments. So if I were to go into course content here, one of the things that I could do is build content. Assessment, assignment. Are MGTA course using grades? To my knowledge, no. But, All right. Since we're not using grades, Richard, does your question still stand as to how to use the grading center in assessments?
So, since we're not doing grades, we don't need to worry about the My Grades section?
In this case, no. And unless there's some particular reason why that'd be specific to your course. And I see that Vera's raised her hand as well, so
Okay, there we go. I was just going to say, go ahead and go through all these features. When we get to the breakout sessions, all of the lead instructors and faculty will specify what the role of the TAs are and how they're actually going to help moderate their individual classes. So whether the grade function is used in any way at all is, I'll defer to the faculty on that, but formally speaking, we are not assigning grades to any of these classes, and we're not even providing credit this year, not even that one credit, just because we're not on site and we haven't had a chance to establish all the prerequisites for doing so. So mostly TAs, your job is going to be answering questions and just making sure that all the students are able to keep up with the class content. That's it.
All right. Well, that being the case, I'll at least show you how to create an assignment. That way you can have students turn stuff in and then potentially grade them, I suppose, if that's something that you would like to do. So if I were to go back here, so let's say that I wanted to add an assignment here under course content, then I can go to assessments and assignment. I can create the name of the assignment, specify instructions for the assignment here. So I could say, turn in your exciting work. Then I can choose to attach a file if I had a rubric or a set of instructions I wanted. I can specify a due date. So if I wanted to make it available until this Friday at midnight, then I can specify that there. If you are assigning points, then you can do that here. And there are a few other submission details you'll want to keep in mind. Individual submission is the one that you're almost certainly going to be using. There is the ability to create groups as well, and I can go over that if people would like. But individual is what you'll probably be using for most students. Now, for number of attempts, this is one that you're probably going to be using a lot. Single attempt is for they submitted once and that's it. That's the submission they've sent in. If you want people to be able to send in things multiple times, like let's say they're updating things several times in a row, and then maybe you want to see their progress as they complete an assignment, then you can select either multiple attempts and then specify the number of attempts that they have, such as 3, or you can use unlimited attempts. And then again, we're not really assigning grades this year, but then you can use any of these options here to select either what grade they would get for that assignment, such as last graded attempt, the highest grade, lowest grade, etc., etc. And I suppose, again, this is almost certainly not going to be used, but if you wanted to, if it was a text assignment, you could theoretically check for plagiarism using SafeAssign. Then again, we have availability here, which replaces standard options. That's just a matter of either make the assignment available or display after and display until a certain time. Oh, and I should note that display after and display until makes the content available and visible. This is opposed to due date, which determines when students can last turn it in. So just keep in mind those are two separate options. So then I can click submit. And that creates the course content here. Now, in the event that students were turning stuff in and I wanted to check on what they were turning in, that I can do from down here in course management. Then I have the grading center here. Oh. And we're going to click on full grade center. Now in this section here, what we would see is we would have the last name, the first name, the username, and so on and so forth of our different students. And as we go along, what we would see is we would see all the different options that we created for different assignments. So for example, I have test 1 here. Now if I were to click this down arrow, what I could do is click on grade attempts. And in this case, I don't have any students enrolled, but if I did have students enrolled and if there were any assignments submitted, then what it would give me is something very similar to what we'd see for other grades here. So let's see if I could find an example among my own stuff. So what it would give you is basically the actual assignment itself. Then for grade, what you would be able to do is click in there and type in the specific grade that you want to assign for that specific value over the point value that you assigned earlier. And then instead of this being blank up here, you would have a forward and a backwards arrow to go through each individual student submission. That way you can see basically what everybody's submitted. Now, did that answer your question about how to use the grading center? I can potentially send you tutorials, that way you can see what it would look like in practice to use the full grading center if you would like. I know that I don't have any specific examples here since there aren't any students enrolled. But would that help?
Yes, that helped. Thank you. But it also went and had me think of another question.
Certainly.
Do the TAs have their own Blackboard, or is it all combined?
It's all combined. Now, TAs do have certain restrictions as far as what they can do. For example, they can't choose to make a course not available or available. But they can control the content that's listed within a course, and they can do things like perform grading functions.
All right, thank you.
Certainly. Oh, actually, I looked at my agenda here, and I just realized there is one thing that I thought was covered in advanced usage, but I forgot to set up here, which is how do you make announcements to people? Oof, that is actually a rather important thing to discuss. So, apologize for that. All this will not take particularly long. One of the things you're probably going to want to do is send out announcements to students occasionally. And what I think you'll find is that announcements will be sent to all the different email addresses registered to each student. Or you can swim in circles, yes. But what I can do here is, let's say that I wanted to announce that something was posted. I should be able to do that. Actually, oh, wait. For that, we're actually going to have to create a particular tool link to announcements. All right, announcements is a particular tool that we have under Blackboard here. So you can get to it by adding a tool link, specifying that it's for announcements and giving it a proper name. And now under announcements, what I can do is create an announcement, say, hello everyone, this course is ready. Then we have duration, which replaces standard options, so you can either make it available immediately, or you can specify that it will be available at some point in the future. And then you can send a copy of this announcement immediately, which means it'll be sent out to all the students as an announcement that they can view in Blackboard. Now I will note that this email announcement option only works if you select not date restricted. If you specify that it will be email or available in the future, then this email announcement will not work. Although, once it is available, then you can go back in, edit it, and then select this option to then announce it to everyone by email if you would prefer. So there it is. I've created the announcement, and if I were to go to the home page here, you'll see that it's now listed here under announcements as well. All right, well, that's just about everything that I had. Let me recheck the agenda just to make sure. And yes, so are there any additional questions people have or other features? Joseph, I see that you just raised your hand.
Yeah, hi. Just to clarify something. So will we be automatically added to these courses, or do we have to like get them on somewhere? Is there a registry for that? Or
There is no registry. We are registering all of the TAs and instructors at this end with ITS. So you should have access to the course already, but if you don't, then We're in the process of seeing to that for some of our TAs still, and you should get access to that as soon as everybody's assigned.
Got it. I don't see anything yet, but I'll keep you updated if it's still going on. That's why I asked, because I'm just trying to figure out where to find all this.
All right. And Richard, I see raise your hand as well.
So are the TAs responsible for making their own syllabi, or is it going to be a combined syllabus?
They're, from what I understand, that just comes down to each individual course, but my suspicion is that most courses are going to opt to have a single syllabus for the entire course. It's I can't imagine there'll be too many circumstances in which you have individual TAs with different syllabi. But yeah. All right, and are there any additional questions? Well, with that being the case, again, you can all reach me at mthomp19@gmu.edu or at my phone number 202-750-1071. So be sure to keep a record of those both. I promise you, as fantastic as all this technology is, unfortunately, sometimes you do need IT support, and I'll certainly be glad to help if it comes up. But barring that, we'll now pass it on to Jacob, who will be discussing Blackboard Collaborate in further detail. So yes, thank you all.
Hello, everybody. Am I showing up? Yes, I'm also going to share my screen real quick. All right. Well, raise your hand if anybody's like dying for a break or anything. Otherwise, I'm just going to plow forward. Okay, so I'm going to talk about Collaborate a little bit, but I'm not going to talk about the technical side of it too much. I think that, well, we'll see. If we have trouble with that, maybe your lead teacher can help you out with it. But I'm going to talk about basically a beginning lesson that you may, I should say, the lead teachers may want to consider using or adapting for their own purpose. Oh, good. Mike has office hours. Good. So the lesson I'm going to talk about is what I'm imagining doing in my first maybe 15 minutes of class. And I think it was sent out to you, but I've made some changes, and I will probably continue to make changes, especially if we have some good input from today from different lead teachers. And so I am really interested to hear what other people are doing as well. So so I'm going to just kind of talk about how I'm structuring my courses, starting with Collaborate. So when I'm on Collaborate, sorry, not Collaborate, Blackboard, I keep my courses pretty simple. I have one link. And that's probably because most of my course content exists as a website, and some of you will be teaching in courses where that is the case. But basically, I have my course site, my Blackboard course, my Blackboard Collaborate. So I gave a link in here. So I really like that Michael showed us how to do the tool links, because I can add it over on the side instead. And then I'm also using Discord, which we'll talk about in a bit. And that's it for here. So let me get to my outline here. So basically, when I go into Collaborate, the lesson will kind of start out like this. Well, I have a little preparation, which I want to talk about first before the lesson. But basically, here's what I'm planning on doing to make sure my sessions go fairly smoothly. I added the link to Collaborate, so Michael showed you how to do that. Set the role of TAs to presenters, or if you're having all the students be presenters, then you can set the TAs to moderators, but somehow distinguish so the students can see who the TAs are versus who the students are. And then this is, okay, and then you only have 15 minutes. So I added this just a moment ago. Normally in the face-to-face courses, TAs I think showed up 30 minutes early, but I think I'll have my TAs show up at least 15 minutes early so they can help students as they're logging in if they have any audio problems or stuff like that. So that's one of the things my course will require TAs to do, is kind of that technical assistance on the side. And just to kind of talk about that little, how do you handle students asking questions or filling up the chat board as you're presenting? I think that's very case by case. I know Vera and myself, when there's a lot of text messages, I get distracted or I don't see them at all. So a TA, your lead teacher might put a TA like in charge of that area, possibly, or some people are really good at like responding to it and seeing it and being able to multitask, and so that's a case by case scenario. But let me keep going. Messages to the chat. So just kind of getting the environment set up so that when students arrive, they feel like they're not just there by themselves. I think I just heard a chat. James.
Just one thing I wanted to note about the adding a message to a chat, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm fairly certain that if you add that message to the chat, you'll only be showing it to people that are already in the classroom. So if somebody like your TA got in early and put that message in, nobody would see it that joined the chat after that. So something to keep in mind is that you want to keep doing those messages to make sure people see them. So, if it's getting close to 9 and there's a few people in, repeat the message so that the people that have joined since the last time you did it will see it. Because if you put that in early, no one's going to see it if they all join after that. So just keep that in mind. Chat history is not visible to people that have just joined.
Got you.
Kind of a sucky thing about Blackboard Collaborate. I kind of wish it would show history, or at least a little history, but it does not. So just thought I'd point that out, just so people are like, why aren't people doing what I said?
Yeah, so I didn't know that, and maybe that's explanation for some of my confusion.
Yeah, it took me a moment too, because I realized people weren't seeing things that I had said, and then I started playing with it. But yeah, I noticed that when I joined as well. You just don't see that. So, and I can understand why they did it. I just don't agree with it. So
if you want to do something like that, I guess what you can do is share your screen and put something up on your screen that shows that message.
That's probably the better way to do it, is to have kind of like Michael did the little notepad that he showed that had his name and some of that information. If you just had something like that up in the middle of the screen, people will be able to see that because you're sharing your screen and you default have their attention. So
yeah. And again, if your TAs are there early, then students that show up early, they'll have somebody to talk to, and so they won't be completely alone. Good. TAs should assist individually with students who are not muted. So basically just making sure they're all ready to go. And then this is just something as I was thinking about as I was looking at people's backgrounds as they were talking. So if you're going to be sharing your video, make sure that what's behind you is appropriate. There's some middle school classes and stuff like that. We want to make sure they don't see weird things. But especially with desktop and your tabs that are open at the top and stuff like that, just be aware of that kind of thing. And so preparation ahead of time is you might clear off your desktop a little bit or something like that. Or change your desktop background if it's a little crazy or something. Okay, so basically here's how the lesson would go in my mind, and I'm just going to try it out a little bit here to see how well it goes. I'm testing on you guys. So basically, raise your hand if you hear me. I want to see what happens when a lot of people raise their hand. I'm hoping in my attendance thing. Yeah, so you can see very quickly on my right side, like who's not raising their hand. This is a nice thing I've done, not just at the beginning to say, hey, are we ready to go? But also like, oh, maybe these people are off in another room or they're taking a break or they're, whatever. You just kind of have an awareness of who's with you and who's not. And then you say lower hands. So not only are you making sure they're ready to move forward, but you're making sure they can hear you, right? Because if there's people in there that can't hear you, the TAs can start basically immediately tackling those people who are not raising their hands, saying, texting them, trying to find out what the issue is. Okay, so not only are you checking to see if they can hear you, you're checking to see if they're there and ready to go, but you're also making sure they know how to use that feature, right? You're basically teaching them how to raise their hand and lower their hand. So then the next thing I would have everybody do is I would say a video screen check. So I'll say, raise your hand if you can see my video screen. So I'm sharing my screen. I say, can you guys see this right here, right? Awesome. I think everybody can. So then I say, lower your hands. if I feel confident everybody's with me, I lower the hands. And again, just a little practice, but just double checking everybody's in good shape. And again, this is where TAs need to be really jumping in, and not jumping into the whole class, but jumping in individually and talking to students who need help, possibly through chat because their audio is not working or something. Okay, the next thing I would do is a ready check, and this is really the same exact thing, but I was just suggesting it as something you might want to do at the beginning of each session. So, my students from my class, I'm going to have them, joining the morning session for every morning session, they're going to join all together. Even if they're going to be off doing their own thing most of the session, we're going to have that one point of contact, and I'm going to do a ready check to begin just to make sure everybody's ready to go, and then I'll start talking. And same thing at the afternoon session, a ready check just to make sure everybody's with me and ready to go. As far as that goes, you also want to make sure if you are in a course where there's a lot of self-paced projects, activities where students might not be using Collaborate all the time, that they know when they should return, right? I'm going to have a set schedule so that they know every day at this time and this time they need to be joining the session. The next thing, so at least for me, I'm going to introduce myself. And so I don't do that for a while because I want to make sure that everybody can hear me. I'm checking the mics, I'm checking that they're ready. So, I want to really make sure everybody's with me. And then announcing their session. Now, I don't know if that's accurate or not. I haven't looked it up, but I know that I don't know if it was standardized across all the courses or not, but I got to figure that out. So student introductions. Then for this is checking, what I'm really doing here is checking, can they turn their mic on and off? Because up till now they should have had their mics off, but want to make sure their mics are working. And basically as fast as possible, you might have, 30 or 40 students in your class, so you want to tell the students to go really quickly here. And I would just tell them to go alphabetically down the list so they can see when their turn is coming. And so I'll just do 3 people just really quickly. So let's start at the top. All you're doing is your name, where you live, and the most recent game you played. So starting with Andrew. So Andrew's either not hearing me, or he's not with us, or he's taking a break or something. Oh, there he goes. He's raising his hand. Maybe his mic doesn't work. Or maybe he can't speak until his mic was, gotcha. Okay. So then at that point, that's a perfect example, is that the TA should be jumping on that and helping him through text, helping him try to figure out what his mic issues are. And then you don't wait for him to fix it, you just move on to the next person. So we're at Ariel. Oh, but you're texting, and this is a mic check. So you turn on your mic and speak if you can.
Hello?
Hi, Ariel. So name, where you live, most recent game you played.
So my name's Ariel, of course. I live in Manassas, and most recent game I played, I think that would be the Ninjala Open Beta.
Nice. Okay, then mic off, and the next person would go. Let's just do one more. I see your mic turned on, Asher, but I don't hear you. So I would put a TA on that, and I would say, okay, turn your mic, or Boris, you're up next. So you're going to find out here.
Hello,
Nice.
Boris. I'm from North Carolina, and the last game I played was Overcooked.
Nice. Okay, so you get the point, and I think you'll have to decide as a teacher how many students you have in your class, how feasible is this. But I know for me, it's pretty important to know, if people are able to speak or not. If you're going to be using this software a lot with your class, you need to know if students are able to use their mic or hearing you and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so that's kind of an optional one if you have the time for it. The next thing on my list is, and also make sure they know how to turn their mic off, right? Because that sometimes becomes an issue if too many people have their mics on. Okay, so then you talk about kind of how you'll be using the raising your hand. I don't think let's see what that says. Not sure about my favorite game, but I played. Nice. So raise your hands will be used in this class. So for my class, I'm going to do, like I said, do ready checks. I'm also might do engagement checks once in a while just to see, hey, if I'm doing a like a virtual session, which I don't have very many of those, but like a little virtual session, I might just have everybody raise their hand once in a while just for. But I mean, I think I've done it with my university students even, and they don't mind it, and I don't think it feels weird. It's kind of fun almost. And then raise your hand if, and so I think I might do a couple of these with my students just to kind of get them in a feel for, hey, I'm going to be using raising hand in this way. I just want to, and then that way they can see, oh, how many people have programmed before? And let's just do that one as an example. How many of you would say your specialty is programming more than art for game development? If you, So that's really good information for me, for my, just knowing who my audience is, but also for each other. If they're going to be joining in teams or anything, they can say, oh, look, that's how many programmers we have in the course, and the rest of the people must be interested in other areas. So good. I use it for polling. And then I thought that, maybe if anybody has ideas on how they use the raising hand tool, we can raise your hand to let us know. Of course, asking a question during a virtual session is the most obvious, but anything else that you guys use it for? Boris. Oh, I clicked on lower hand. So Boris, you want to go? Or maybe you still had your hand.
Oh, yeah, I just had my hand up. I just stayed.
Okay. So if you have any ideas, not just on this one, any of these things, because this is our first time trying this, and if we have this orientation in the future, we might have a more improved lesson. So if you have ideas, let us know. TA introductions. Let's see what we got here. So I'm not very familiar with the polling feature in this software. Where is it at?
Should be in the share content, I think.
Nice. I haven't played with it.
If you just click on that, you can basically do multiple choice or yes/no answers, and then it asks everybody, and they just click on their choice, and it shows up. You could do one real quick, and it would allow everybody to see it.
Yes, no. Let's say, are you having a nice day? And I say, start. And
everybody can answer, and you can see in real time what the responses are.
They see where, in the chat or in the?
Well, you have the. You're seeing it right there in the middle of your screen.
Oh wow! Okay, I see.
And you can also look at the responses too if you wanted to see who was responding.
Where did I see that? Oh, show responses.
Yep. And then go to chat too. Oh, sorry. Go to your user list.
There's the.
You can actually see who's answered and their answer as well.
Nice.
So that's a way. That way you also get participation and you get actual information. So if you were to ask a multiple choice, it would show the number of the choice that they gave instead of the yes, no. So it takes a little more time because you actually have to type out the stuff rather than just saying, hey, are you having a nice day? Raise your hand or not. And you're right. I put no just because I wanted somebody to have a no.
Dean changed his answer, so you can change your answer too.
Because he realized we could see it. So, but yeah, polling is actually kind of fun. Now you do have to be, I think, a moderator level potentially to share that, or it has to be set up to allow people to share it. But yeah, it gives you a little more flexibility.
Yeah, so I think that's awesome. I like it. I think the reason I like the hands up, hands down was because I didn't have to take a moment to create it. But this might be a really great idea for having you just shout out one of your TAs and say, hey, while I'm talking to everybody, go ahead and set up this poll. And so I like it.
And it depends on how much information you want, right? Like if there's certain things and you want to give them a list of things, it might be easier. But if you're just doing a yes, no, your method is probably just as fast.
Right, if you're doing it like a ready check, you definitely don't need
exactly. Yeah, you don't need that as a poll. So
yeah.
All right. Anyways, that's all.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, so where was I at? Oh, I need to. Well, maybe I'll update this later with that polling stuff. Watch me turn this red because I know. Okay, there you go. So TA introduction. So at some point you'll probably want to introduce your TAs. For my classes, I'm going to be using them in a way that they can rely on what they're good at. So you know, they're going to have specializations, like you know, they're going to tell all the students like, hey, what's their background, what do they do, what do they enjoy, what's their, you know, best skill sets, so that later on they can talk to the right TA. You have to think about how you want your students to, what that relationship will be with the TAs. In my course, you'll see in a minute, everything that happens with the entire class, like what we're doing right now, is going to happen in Collaborate. But the TA interactions with students are probably not going to be as much in Collaborate. They're going to be a lot more in Discord. So then I think it's worth showing that how to chat with everyone versus how to chat with individuals, because I've had students that really get confused on that. They don't know who they're talking to and that kind of thing. So you just have to show it to them, you know, that when they go to chat, how do I end this poll? Okay, when I go to the chat, that there's this back arrow, so I can go from everyone, or I can choose just moderators, or I can choose somebody. Let's see, how do I get to an individual? And how do I stop this poll if I wanted to? Hey man, how's the Collaborate teaching working out? Oh, so once somebody texts you, I see how I get there. But how do I get there if I'm the one initiating it?
At the top, it says find someone to chat with.
Oh, nice. You have to know their name.
Or you can click on the little 3 bubble next to somebody in there, and it has send a chat message, and that'll start that message.
Nice. So at least for me, this wasn't super intuitive. So I think it's worth showing students that, hey, if you need to talk to somebody individually, especially like a TA, the TAs will be at top. You know, they can start a chat with a TA really quickly. And let's get back to there. And I always talk about like when should you use chat for everyone versus individual, because some students have trouble with that. Hey man, moderators. Cards Against Humanity. Okay, I'm going to go back to everyone because I'm getting lost in my chat. Where is everyone? There it is. Okay. Again, when I present, I usually don't pay attention much to the chat. I tell my students that, hey, the chat's for you guys to talk amongst yourselves. And in this case, if I have TAs, I'll say the TAs can help you a little bit. Maybe I'll get better at responding to chat, so I'm not doing too bad now, I don't think. Okay, screen sharing is optional, so you have to decide if you need to show them this or not. So if you're going to be allowing students to share their screen, you should show them how, using the little share screen. But if you decide to do that, you either need to make them presenters, like all of us are right now, or you need to move them to presenter for the moment while they're presenting, and then you can put them back out of that if you want. I don't know if you're going to be doing that or not, so I said optional. Same thing with breakout rooms. I haven't used these a lot either, so I'm not going to talk about them much, but I think Collaborate allows breakout rooms. For me, it was important to have a distinction between what we're using Collaborate for versus Discord, and for me, I wanted those breakout rooms to be in Discord. So you're going to have to kind of play with this and decide which you prefer. If I was using it, I'd use it the same way that I might be using Blackboard, where I have a TA to each breakout session or something like that. So you'll need to decide how you're going to use it and discuss it with your class. So if you guys have ideas there, my ideas were that you could have a breakout room for different specializations, for different games, different genres, anything you can think of for your teams. But if you have any other ideas, yeah, James.
One tip that also I use a lot is if you look at the, you've got chat and you've got your person list, or whatever you want to call it, the user list. If you click on the user list there, it's got that little like hamburger button, drag that user list to the left. Click on it at the bottom and drag it to the left. No, at the very bottom. Move to no, very bottom, where it says 31 and all that.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Oh, there's another no hamburger list.
There you go. That's fine. Just drop it. Let go. Try it again. Now drop. Okay. There you go. So what it's going to do is it's going to allow you to see both the chat and the user list at the same time, which is actually super useful when you're doing class administration, because then you can see if people are having issues at the same time that you're monitoring chat. And so I have that almost as a default to all my classes. It does, eat up a little room there, but it's super helpful. If you want to put it back, you can always drag it back on there. But honestly, I think that's probably the best way, just to leave it like that. So just something to keep in mind if you're, administrating in class. It's a really nice feature. So
yeah, I'm going to try it for a little while and see how I like it. But yeah, I like that. This is great. I'm learning more than you are. So good. Any other thoughts, especially about how to use breakout rooms or how to set them up or anything like that? Not the technical side, but just the reasons you might want to. All right, then the next thing is I have some additional notes, which is I can't get to
Richard has a question.
Yes, Richard. Oh, I see. Now the thing's popping up a little further over. Okay, good.
Yeah, you might want to scroll your attendee list back to the top, because that's where the people will pop if they have a hand. So.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Was it Robert?
Richard.
Richard. Okay.
So with the breakout rooms, I noticed in my previous classes with Blackboard Collaborate that if you put a breakout room, it randomizes everyone. So I do know that it randomizes people if you put everyone into a breakout room. How do we go and put them into the specifications?
So yeah, so I haven't looked into that. Like I said, the breakout rooms in Collaborate I haven't looked into. I'm sure that it doesn't have to be random. Is there any of you that have used the breakout rooms and set them up that way? So possibly nobody here has tried it before, or they've tried it and not been successful.
If you go into share content, Jacob,
breakout groups,
you'll see that there's an assign groups you can randomly assign or do custom assignment, and then you can drag people to groups as you want them. So
that's painful.
basically you have full control of how many groups, how many people are in groups. You can do it randomly. You can have people switch, right? So basically, and again, unfortunately, the rest of you guys won't see this right now because they can't see that, but on your screen. But that is the features that they will have under breakout groups. Now, one of the things about breakout groups is it does have. It's not like you can have multiple things up and see all the different groups. You have to jump from group to group and back to the main group, and it's kind of crazy. So it is useful, but keep that in mind that once you have multiple groups, it's going to kind of throw people in different areas, and you're going to have to keep jumping behind. Now, if a TA were assigned to each group, then that's probably one of the better ways to potentially do it. But anyway, you have a lot of control over it.
I can see some people are joining groups, and I assume that once they've joined a group, they don't hear me anymore. So
it depends on if I think it depends on if you go to a room or not. Is how that works. Again, like I haven't played with it enough myself because I never found it that useful, but that is kind of how you do it.
yeah. So and I could see this. I'm going to be doing this in Discord, but I could see using this here instead just as easily. Right. Where I would set up. I have like six game templates that the students choose from. as they're choosing their teams. So they could go into the game template they're interested in and chat with people and decide who they want to work with in that way. But yeah, I think you just have to be aware of how to use it. I think and making sure that you know how to talk to those students and bring them back to the main session when it's ready. I think one way to do it is you can end the group, the breakout session, and then all those will disappear, I'm sure. Richard.
Looking at that, I think you put Dean in their own group, and Dean left because he couldn't hear anyone else anymore.
So yeah, what I did was I just created the groups. I didn't assign anybody. I'm guessing that Dean chose to go into that group, so that you can let people choose their group. And then it's interesting if Dean left because it's still showing he's there. But anyway, I'm going to cancel the groups for a moment because I want to make sure Dean and everybody's with us. Delete group? Sure. But I actually want to stop the groups completely, so I'm going to go back to breakout groups, and I should have a way to like stop doing groups. Or maybe I'll just delete them both.
Yeah.
Oh, there's still a group.
Hit update probably.
There we go. Good. No breakouts. So you basically get comfortable with that. You know, if you're going to be doing it with your class, maybe test it with your TAs for a while first. Is Dean not back in the main room? Yeah, I think Dean could report back to us his experience if he's available. I don't know if Dean's still with us. There he is. I was trapped. Okay, so yeah, I definitely do some testing with that because he may have felt trapped because he was in there by himself, you know. But if and he couldn't leave. That's interesting. Yeah. So again, I'm sorry I'm not up to speed on that, but that's definitely something you want to test if you're going to use it. Okay, so I'm going to move on from the breakout groups since I'm not expert enough to talk about it well, and then I'm going to talk about just some additional notes. Playing videos for students. So you know, you can try it, and if you're playing a video for your entire class and there's no problem, wonderful. But I know from experience that I'm not even going to try it. If I want them to watch something, I'm going to send them the link in chat, and then I'm going to say, you know, whatever time they need, 10 minutes or whatever, 5 minutes, and I'm going to say watch the video and then jump back in, and then there's a chance to use the raise hand. Raise hand when you're done watching the video, and they're all you know when they're ready to go. So just be careful if you're trying to share a video. Know and share your software shortcuts, increasing and decreasing size. You know, so especially with code and stuff like that, you want to be able to zoom in and zoom out, and let your students know how to do that for when they are getting help from TAs and stuff like that. Jellyfish. Okay, that's it for all I have to say about Collaborate before I talk about Discord a little bit. Is there any questions or anybody want to add to anything that maybe should be talked about for Collaborate? All right, so if not, then what I'm going to show you next is Discord. I'm assuming most of you are familiar with it. This is an optional thing, of course. I'm going to actually move this over here so I can keep an eye on it. I have a 2-monitor system, and I would recommend that for anybody who's trying to teach online. So James, yeah, go ahead.
Do you want to perhaps talk to them briefly? I don't know if we passed along information about like when you talked about having a clean desktop and things like that, but like ideas about when they're sharing their own screen. I know when you're trying to share screen within Collaborate, there's options for sharing audio from like applications. So if like you wanted to play audio from YouTube or something like that, in order to share that content, you actually have to check the box, and Chrome, has it for screen. And then there's the difference between sharing your entire screen or sharing the application or just a tab in Chrome. And honestly, with what we're doing with an all-day event, or mostly on an off day, it's probably better just to show your entire screen at all times. But as you said, having a clean desktop, making sure you don't get notifications, mail popping up, people texting you, or whatever it is. Those are all important things to think about if you do share your entire screen like Jacob is now, because anything we sent him from other areas may pop up as well. So those are just things to kind of consider. But as far as screen sharing goes, you know, there's options available to you, but your best bet is to use Chrome, and your best bet's to probably just share your entire screen unless you have a reason to do other.
Yeah, and I'll say that definitely that's important for you to even talk about with your students if they're going to be sharing their screen. My students will definitely be sharing their screen with TAs at least to get help, and they need to know that if they just share Unity, for instance, then when they switch over to the Visual Studio, you know, the Visual Studio and the code, they won't see it. Or even when they run their game, well, that's in a different language, but you know, it's just yeah. So you need to have a conversation with your TAs for sure, but maybe also with your students to decide, you know, so they know the difference. I can't demonstrate it, I don't think, here, because I don't think if I opened this up to share my screen, you'd see it. But when you go to share content, you have a choice between different screens or different, you know, different software. Good point. I missed that. I did have it on my list. Anything else on the Blackboard before I jump over to Discord? All right, so for Discord, oh yeah, Andrew, go ahead. Oh, I thought I saw Andrew raise his hand. And he lowered it. Yes, okay. Okay, so I'm going back to Discord here for a second.
He's asking in chat if TAs need webcams.
For my students, or for my TAs, I'm not going to require that. I don't think that it's a need to be able to see their faces. It's nice if you're having them do anything in a virtual session, like talking to the students. It's nice that they can see their face, but I wouldn't require it. Mostly, how I see my TAs being used is screen share, so that's why I focused on the desktop being all nice and cleaned up. And it says my connection is poor. Are you guys hearing me okay? Uh-oh. Oh, okay, good. Okay, sounds good. Got to be careful asking those questions. Okay, so here we go. So I've got, first of all, if you're a super user, I didn't even use Discord a year ago, but now I've got like tons of servers. So you can group things together within a folder. There's all my MGTA or my game design courses and stuff like that. This is my MGTA courses. So if you get a lot, you can organize it. But right now I have 4 MGTA courses, and I'm just going to talk about 2 of them real quick. Here's my game programming with Unity and C#. And the way I'm going to use this, and of course it's just something to think about if you decide to, is that when we're not in a virtual session, like when they're kind of on their own working on stuff, they're going to have Discord open. And so they have a class chat where they can chat with each other. They have this class overview where it has some information that I thought was important to share. And then these are the voice channels that I thought were important to use. Is, I'm going to have 2 TAs, it looks like, for this course, so I set up a different room for each one of them. That way students can go immediately into there and talk to them and get help and stuff, and they can share their screen and that kind of stuff. But I also set up this stream your activity because we were talking about, I was talking about this with some of my production team, how can we create an environment like we have in the face-to-face class where a TA goes around and kind of checks out, looks over their shoulder and says, hey, what are they working on? Just kind of sees what's going on. And so this was our idea, is that if you go into stream your activity, then if you're familiar with Discord, you can basically share your screen, and anybody who joins that channel will be able to watch and see it. So it was just an option for students to go in and share the screen. Now, what I would do if I was teaching this lesson is I'd make sure everybody's joined in and we test out these things so they know what a channel is, they know how to join a voice channel and how to disconnect. I would go through all the kind of features of Discord to make sure they are familiar with it so that they know how to share the screen and they know when they are and when they're not sharing. So that's what I'm kind of the general idea of how I'm using this. And so it's kind of like in my course, the majority of the is not teacher led, so the majority of the time will be kind of communication will happen in Discord. The only time we'll jump to Collaborate is during any completely full class sessions. But if I go over to the game design with Unity course, I have another set of voice channels set up. I have the ones with the TAs and the stream your activity, but I also have this kind of setup in preparation for them joining their teams. So again, you can set up your voice channels however you want, and then they can go in and talk and decide what team they want to be on based on what game they're going to create. So let me double check. Is there any questions about Discord? I know if you're not familiar with Discord, you might be like, oh, what's he talking about a little bit? But if you're one of my TAs, you'll learn Discord pretty quickly here during our breakout sessions. The additional notes I have, or sorry, the Discord. So that's how I'm using it. Blackboard for virtual class, where everybody needs to be together. Lab time is like the Discord. Text channels basically is where you chat. Voice channels is where you can talk out loud. Richard, you have a question?
So with Discord, would it be a good idea to keep the Blackboard Collab up and Discord up at the same time?
I would recommend, well, I guess if you mute your mic, you could try it. But if you're sharing the screen through Discord, I don't know, personally, I would say, no, you don't need to be in Collaborate, because you know your meeting time, or at least for my students, they're going to know when they need to meet for a class session. And then as soon as that class session is done, they can get out of Collaborate and until the next meeting time. But
I was more so asking, like, with Blackboard Collab up and just Discord in the background, like, if one of the students is running late, they can just post on Discord and you have that up?
Well, absolutely. One of the things I've thought about was, what if we get some type of technical issue with Collaborate? Then definitely they can jump in. You could even have a voice channel called the virtual class, where you just switch to Discord completely if something completely fails on Collaborate. But even if one student is having trouble getting into Collaborate, then if you have a TA that's monitoring this to make sure that they're helping out any students who are having trouble getting Collaborate, that's kind of a secondary backup plan. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, so I think it's nice to have a secondary option, because definitely if there's some technical issue with one software, you can switch to the other pretty quickly. Okay, so did I have any other hands up? Let's see. Don't think so. Okay. The Discord provides a secondary technology if Collaborate goes down. Yeah, that's what I talked about right there. Not keeping track of my chat very well. History, so it serves as synchronous and asynchronous messaging for the class. Oh, yeah, that's true. The text chat, so basically the two big things you have in Discord are voice channels and text channels. And so anything that gets put into the text channel, it'll be saved. It's got the history of it. You can always go back and look at it, which is why I got a lot of the information here that will. Now, I set this one up where students cannot add any messages. So you can, per channel, set up different permissions for whether they're different roles they have and stuff like that. One of the other things that I should mention, I don't know if I skipped it or I haven't gotten to it yet, but for my TAs, I want them to add that at the end of their name so that they can quickly be identified by students in the list of students. So Ariel, you can see, is on here, and Sam is on here already. I just sent it out this morning, so they're on top of it. Zach's not added it yet, but you have an email, Zach. Okay, so yeah, you have text channels and voice channels, and that's where you actually talk out loud to people. But these are more like rooms of people. If you want to individually talk to somebody, you can right-click on their name and you can call them. But I'm not going to encourage that with my TAs, because then all of a sudden they're tied up and nobody knows if they're available or not. Where if they have their own room to talk in, then they can be helping one student, and if another student comes in to help, then they can say, oh, look, he's busy, but at least they know what's going on, and they can even listen if they think it's helpful. I think, was there a hand up somewhere? Okay, so anyway, that's the real brief, what is Discord and how I'm going to be using it. And James, do you have any thoughts on it?
No, I just put something in chat that you should probably discuss and think about for people that do want to discuss Discord. One of the things that might happen is if people have already Discord and try to use it, they're going to have different names. They may have crazy names. They may have offensive names, and you may just not know who they are. So making sure that they change their nickname when they come in is probably something that you probably want to look at doing. Just so that you're on the same page of who is who. Because one of the nice things about Blackboard is, they're coming in off their email and we've sent them links and we know who they are for the most part. Once you go to Discord, being a third-party app, you're then relying on them having to either sign up or have a login, and then it becomes this kind of process where you have to identify them again. So if you're going to use it, kind of make it a policy that if they go there, they change it to their real name. It doesn't have to be their full name, obviously, but it has to be enough that you can differentiate them. Exactly.
Yeah. Good point. You might even just tell them to match their name on Collaborate so that there's no confusion between the two.
That'd be the easiest, to be honest. But
and one thing is, if there's anybody being inappropriate or refuses to change their name, you can just kick them. Like, who's Speedy? I don't know who that is. Kick him off the server. Kick Speedy. But I've never kicked anybody actually, so I don't know how that works exactly. Okay. Any other thoughts on Discord so far? I think I'm almost done. Let me see. Discord, secondary team servers, standard software for gamers. Another reason I'm using it is because I'm actually teaching a course where students are going to join teams to work together. And so virtually one thing to use, and I think Discord is a pretty popular one, and I think that's what's part of the reason I'm using it for classes, so that when they're ready to join teams, now I don't need to have a lesson on Discord. They already know it. They just have to kind of set their own up. Or what I'm planning on doing is having them set up their, setting up a different, so I'm going to create a teams category, and then they're going to give me a team name, and I'm going to add their team in here, and that way our TAs and I can go into their teams and work with them really quickly without having to jump to their Discord servers. So if we keep them all on one server, so that you work with. I think I've got some messages popping up and down. So some kind of resources channel might be something useful to students. Resources, I'm not sure what you mean by resources. Look above. And maybe that's what you're saying, is the things that I have up top here is like what, tech support and class overview and class chat. So that's kind of the overall class text channels. But yeah, I mean, once you know that you can do text and voice, it's just up to you to figure out how that's going to be used in your class the best. Links, example files, yeah, exactly. Oh, and pinning messages. I think I may have pinned a message for somebody. Maybe that first, when I go to the class chat this year, if I want it to, like, as more and more people like enter and talk, that message will get moved up towards the top. But I've got this little pinned messages. I can always see, oh, I don't have anything pinned, but if I wanted to pin this message, then I could pin it by right-clicking. Oh, no. Where is it? I don't remember. There's usually the 3 little buttons, right? Oh, there. 3 little buttons.
Click enter to save first.
Oh, it's not. I see. I'm editing right now. So I save it. There it is. Then I go to the 3 buttons, and I can say pin it. And now I say, oh yeah, pin it. Now it'll show up here like, as an always there thing. But you don't need to tell, if you're going to be using that feature, you don't need to tell your students that, hey, you're going to have some things pinned up here, so they know what that is. And then you can decide if you don't want it there, you can unpin it. Okay, any other thoughts or questions on Discord? Let's see if I had anything else listed. Additional notes, TA change, append. Okay, that's from my classes. I think that's a good idea. Know and share your software shortcuts. I'm gonna add pin in here. I'll update that later for shortcuts. Shortcuts. Oh, again, just knowing how to increase size of text and stuff like that. Okay, I can hear my Discord going off. Or my roles. So yeah, on roles for Discord, if you want to have some people like TAs have some permissions and students have different permissions, you can do this, I think, for a full server, or you can also do it per chat. So for instance, I said that in the class overview, I didn't want anybody changing it or even adding to it, because then it would slowly move to the top and stuff like that. I just, you just go here to the gearbox and you can change things with permissions, and then you can see right now I've got a role set up as teacher, or you can add more roles, and so then you can specify, for the teacher they're going to have these permissions, for everyone else they're going to have these permissions, and you can have them for TAs or for students or whatever. For me, everyone is the student, and then if I want anything special, I do TA or teacher or student or something like that. So it's pretty, has quite a bit of ability there. I'm opening and closing windows. Now stream, I'll look at another stream in Discord. Oh, that's nice. I know one of the things that you need to be aware of. So we're talking about streaming and being able to see people's screens. And Will saying you can do it. You can stream yours while watching somebody else's. That is my printer. Sorry, my wife also works from home and she started printing, and it's right next to me. But I'm almost done. I think they'll consider turning off embed links and attach files under the role permissions. So as far as the list of permissions, what Greg is suggesting is not allowing people to, and I like that, because every time I add a link, it automatically puts these like embeds in, and I have to manually remove each one. But apparently in permissions you can turn that off, so they're not able to do that, or it doesn't automatically do that. And prevents memes. Oh, that might be good, especially if you're working with high school kids. So if you don't allow them to embed videos and stuff and pictures, then you'll be getting crazy stuff in there. And again, all that's under the permissions. So just as a reminder, now I know for what these are called channels, and for each channel you have permissions, right? But also I think there might be a server-wide permissions up here somewhere that you might be able to play with somewhere. Really working with any age runs that risk. That's true. I haven't had the issue with my university students, but yeah, I also am not super, I don't watch it too closely with my university students. Yeah, so these are great. Any other thoughts or questions on Discord, suggestions on how it might be used this summer? Channel instead of putting up, make a water reel. Okay, yeah. So that it doesn't clog up stuff, or what's the purpose of issues if people do cause problems or post wrong stuff? I think that's going to be a class by class basis. You can have a TA monitoring that kind of stuff. You could, I don't know. I mean, we could come up with a thing for all of us, some policy that we all want to follow. James, you want to talk about it?
Yeah, no, I think that maybe this is a question for Vera or someone, but obviously within a classroom, if anybody was doing something wrong, we would take care of it. But you'd usually want to at least bring up issues and let people know, above you or up the chain, just in case things that come up, right? And so obviously you can disable them, you could kick them out, you could do different things to stop them. But we probably need something to say, look, I had a problem with the student, this is what I did, so that because they're paying for these courses and their parents are going to come back and all this other stuff, we just need to be able to, just like any other situation as teachers, we just want to have, here's what we did, here's why we did it. And hopefully we don't have a lot of that in most of our in-person courses, and I doubt we'll do it in this case too. but it's just something to think about. Like if you have an issue and you have to, do something to a student to get them in line, it's worth passing it up just so that if it starts to become an issue later, we know what's going on, as Vera said. So, and we're all on the same page. Just something to think about. We don't have to discuss and finalize now, but don't just block someone and think it's taken care of. Just make sure you're keeping track of folks.
And I'm thinking that one thing you could do in roles, I have an everyone role. You could set up a restricted role where if a student is abusing their power, you throw them into that role and they can see everything, but they can't post on anything.
Well, that's only Discord though. I'm talking about just in general as well.
Oh, in general, right? Yeah. Hear people typing, so I'm wondering what's going to be said. I had a debug chat channel where students could post their error messages. It was useful since I had a few students who couldn't share their screen due to poor internet connection. That's a good idea. No matter what we tell them is requirements for the course, it just seems like there's some students who are going to have bad internet or sometimes have bad internet. So those are good suggestions. We have a Discord for MGTA, so we could have a reporting channel or issue. Yep. I think you're probably already on that, so I don't think I need to cover it. But yeah, we do have that MGTA for each course. This is where, and TAs, this is important, and everybody, is that if you're going to be, need to say anything that the student wouldn't hear, like you're, basically administration of the class or have questions or whatever, you need to go into this one and make sure you're talking to the right people. Make sure you're not in a course saying, hey, I'm having a problem with a student, right? Make sure you're in the right spot there. It helps in our rules of behavior note. I don't know. I think the rules were always handled in a class-by-class basis previously. So now that we're going virtual, though, the question is, should we have something more kind of set for all classes or some process ready to go? I don't know. You can do it by channel as well. You can delete messages. Maybe we should raise hands, yeah, because trying to keep people in chat's a little tough here. Go ahead, James.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, I think that, I don't know that, I like the idea here, but I don't know if we need them to sign it, send it back or whatever. I just think that one of the things that, especially when you go to online classes for syllabus, is a lot of them, especially even George Mason, require that you put some stuff in there about expectations of online behavior. And so just part of the syllabus, we can say, hey, you know what, you're going to be online, you're going to be using different things. We have wonderful tutorials to help you out. If you have problems, there's things to do. Here are a few expectations on what we want from you. And they can be as simple as, hey, turn your mic off when you're not using it, and reinforcing it at each point of contacting these people. And then by setting up those rules, even though they're not explicit, hey, don't curse, don't be a jerk, don't post not safe for work stuff, we don't necessarily need to go that far down the rabbit hole because it just puts ideas in their head. But instead we go, look, there's going to be some expectations, here's what we expect, keep things oriented unless there's channels where you can be off topic, and even so, be nice and respectful. Very simple, very nice, and they'll get the hint. And then if we have to, we bring out the stick.
Yeah, and again, that's not just a Discord thing. We're talking about the whole course, collaborating and everything. But in regards to Madison's text about kicking, banning, and blocking, they're paying for a course, and I don't know if we can kick them out of something they're paying for. But if we have other options or other processes, eventually maybe they get kicked out. I mean, if they're completely inappropriate, but it wouldn't be our first go-to. Okay, let me see if there's anything else. Time is it? 1:48. I don't know when that was supposed to happen. That's not the right one. I want to Sorry, I've got two that are very similar. Here it is over here. Okay. Oh yeah, I think I was pretty much done. So kind of a last thing that we kind of talked about was expectations and how to handle. So Al will do that as we'll keep that conversation going. And so if there's nobody else who has suggestions or thoughts, or if you have other things that come up in your mind later, email me them, and I'll kind of improve my talk so that if we do it again next year, we can make it better. All right, Vera, I'm going to hand it back to you, I guess. Yep.
Okay, can you guys hear me? Everything good?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, Jacob. Yeah, this is definitely a learning experience for all of us, and I'm sure we're going to keep learning right up to through the first week. But that was certainly a great presentation, and thank you, James, as well. You all had some great points to make. Right now, we're at the point of going to breakout sessions. And a couple notes on that. So Michael has created 6 different Blackboard links for the different classes. If you need to know which class you're assigned to, TAs, refer to the agenda that's posted. You'll see where you've been assigned. It's generally your primary class, the one that you'll probably spend the most time in. It's a little tricky for some of you, I know, because you're in more than one class. For the most part, I've made the schedule in such a way where you can attend both. I think there's only one person that will have to refer to an archived. So that said, faculty, this is the point at which the faculty will really customize the instruction and prep for you TAs. All of the things that we've covered right now apply to all the classes, but all of the lead faculty have experience in actually teaching classes, so they probably have some ways that they prefer that they're going to run the class, and they also have syllabi and course prep for you to do specific to their classes. Does everybody see the agenda where they've been assigned to a particular breakout session? Any issues there? Or are we all good on that front? Okay, Michael has posted the agenda. So Michael, do you want to show them where you placed that? Okay. Well, we'll go back to shared documents. Can everybody see the agenda there?
Yes, it is shared in share files. So I will share that now.
All right. For Ariel, if you're in 2, are you sure you're in 2 at the same time, or are you 2 back to back? We can let me check on that offline. I'll check on where you are. Yeah. Okay. So in any case, Michael has posted the different breakout sessions, and they're identified by class name. So let's just get that established so everybody knows that's how we're going to do the breakout sessions. Okay, there we go. All right, are we clear there? I want to remind faculty, please record your breakout sessions. In the event that there is somebody that has to be in 2 places at once, they'll have to then go to the archive version. Okay, we good? All right. There we go. So there you have the breakout sessions. Okay. Now, a note on timing. So again, please record, and I'll go through it again if anybody has any specific questions on what their priority is in terms of which one to attend. And then a note on the timing. I notice it's lunchtime. It's 11:53, and so I recommend that everybody at least get into their breakout session, touch base with their lead faculty, make sure everybody's in and knows what they're, where they are and they're in properly. And then I will defer to lead faculty to see if they want to take a quick break before they start, or if they want to move right into it and take a break later. Okay, Jellyfish, what do you want to say? I've just, hello, Jellyfish?
I actually jump off and swim and sting some people that entered the water. So I'm not going to be able to join the session 1 group. Is there a time we could reconnect? Session 1?
Yeah, that would affect Jacob, Nathan, Will, and Daniel.
Yeah, so gentlemen, do you need me for the intro to Python for machine learning or just the second?
The second one is not, we don't have machine learning or anything in the second one, in session 2.
It's all machine learning.
No, I'm sorry, in session 2. There's nothing in session 2. In session 1, you're saying the second half of session 1 is what you're suggesting?
Yeah, so in general, for your breakout session for the entire summer program, do you need me for the intro to Python for machine learning, or are you guys good with that without me? And then the actual machine learning using Python, I'm sure you're going to need my input. But are you good with the first one without me?
Yeah, I am. I don't expect my breakout sessions to take an entirely enormous amount of time because I'm going to be directing most of the students.
Well, that's not really the question, Jacob. It's, do you want me to join the discussions of the breakout session for the intro to Python for machine learning course, or wait, or you don't need my help or input?
Yeah, I'm not needing you if you don't, unless you have something specific you want to talk about.
Okay. So you guys are fine without me on the intro to Python. When is Vera? When is the second session taught?
Can you guys hear me still?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have that one starting at 2:30, and the reason we have that one starting at 2:30 is because Matt Randon, that worked out for him. He's still teaching public school, so we have that one starting at 2:30 unless everybody can agree to start it sooner. I think it's going to be up to them.
That actually wasn't my question. I'm actually only referring to the machine learning Python courses.
Okay. They're both combined into one.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're both combined into one. So first, the breakout session will cover the first part of the course, and then it's going to depend on how long that takes as to when you'll be ready to hit part 2 of the course.
Yes, Scott, I think that the confusion is that in session 1, they're combined. So basically, intro to Python and machine learning, just one session. And
That's what I thought from the beginning. And you said there was no machine learning in that, so I was confused.
Well, Now I think we all got it cleared out. Session 1 is going to cover both parts 1 and 2, and it's just going to depend, like I said, on how long it takes them to get through part 1.
All right, so Jacob, can you take the initiative and set up a different time on a different day for all of us to talk about the second course in that series?
Yes. Yep.
Thank you. Okay, I got to jump off. I have another call at noon. Thank you all. A lot of fun.
All right, thank you.
For my group, we're going to go ahead and do the breakout session just for scheduling purposes.
Okay, and you mean the Python one, right? The
Python session 1, Python students, we're still going to join the breakout, and we'll schedule when we're going to meet next.
Okay.
For session 2, right. I think, speaking for Matt's behalf, I don't know how if he's listening right now at the moment or not, but 2:30 is ideal.
All right, and apologies, but just to jump in, these links are set up such that everybody is going to be a moderator by default coming in. So just be sure to mute your microphones when you enter. And other than that, if there are any questions getting Unity ready, you all have my phone number, so feel free to text me if needed. Thanks.
Okay, before everybody leaves, I just want to make sure I know when session 2 is beginning. Matt is actually available after 1 o'clock. He just texted. So when, I don't know if we're all trying to make session 2 at the same time or not.
I have a window from 1 to 1:30 where if we feel like it was going to take about 30 minutes, we could do it right at 1, Jacob.
I think we could probably do that. Yeah. Well, it might be kind of pushing it. Maybe keeping it at 2:30 is better. I don't know. What do you think?
Let's try and squeeze it in at 1, and we'll see.
Okay. Let's do that. So at least for the Unity folks, session 2 begins at 1 p.m. But does that give enough time for session 1? Because if they're taking a lunch break and stuff, they might not be done by 1 p.m.
I'll sit in the Blackboard, and I'll wait for you guys to file in.
Where is this? So is anybody in session 2 going to be in session 1 also? Yes. Oh, but the intro, Daniel. Actually, most of the people in Unity are also in the Python. Okay. Yeah, we're going to try it at 1 p.m. for session 2 for Unity folks. Well, Python, I'm going to jump into I'm sorry, I feel like I'm dominating.
Jacob, I think we're 2 hours ahead of schedule roughly, so I think that those breakout sessions are going to go much faster than an hour.
Oh, right. It's only 12 o'clock. Perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good.
Apologies, Liam. I see your message in the chat as well. You can't connect to it. Could you clarify that? Are you receiving an error message?
Hi, Will and Nathan. Hey, guys. Can you hear me? Man, what a mess I made. Who's supposed to be joining us? So we're just scheduling as soon as Daniel gets in here. I'm going to jump over. It looks like I could be in both Collaborate sessions at the same time, so I'm going to text Daniel. Oh, he is. Okay, good. All right. Daniel, you hear me? So I already know Nathan and Will. I don't know you yet, Daniel. I don't think. Do I? Have I met you? Have you been in my